hemorrhaging, medics and specialized professionals. So we are having this conversation with Arthur Adera, who's the ex-legislator of Testo North, as well as Joe Mutambo, former Mwingi Central Member of Parliament. These are regulars here on the show, and I like your sentiments on the unique situation that the medics are facing this year. I'll start with you, Honorable Mutambo. There's the fact that we are also going into the December holidays. We're going to have a lot of people traveling, and this obviously poses greater risks to those who are vulnerable, given that the older generation is up country. So when you look at the closer future, the future that we are in a few weeks' time, and at the same time we're having a possibility of medics downing their tools, and at the same time a coronavirus that is not even taking stock of what the country is losing. We're just going to have to deal with the situation as it is. What comes to mind? What are your feelings about this, and how can we change tact to ensure that we are more protected than what is happening right now in the country?
What I know is that we are in a position where we have never been before.
Yes.
In everything, health-wise, education-wise, politically speaking, economically.
Yes.
We are in a position where we have never been before. This is a new territory for Kenyans. Kenyans have never walked up to a position, to a day whereby you have to wear a mask, or you have to stay at home, you don't know what to do, you don't know who is sick out there, you don't know who is not sick there. Kenyans have never walked up to a position whereby we are being told that doctors will not be working. Kenyans have never walked up to in a position whereby nobody have something to put on their table to eat. We have never had a government admit that it is broke, they do not have money, because it is just the other day I was reading through the newspapers, through the media, CS for Treasury saying that brace yourself for other times, and Kenya, we do not have this, we don't have this. So it's a very new territory for Kenyans, and it is very difficult for anybody to predict what comes tomorrow, because today we are being told there's a referendum, tomorrow we are being told there could be no referendum. Somebody is saying this, someone is saying that. And when you look at the camps, they have a huge followers, and you don't know what will happen if we split this country down in the middle. And that's why I'm saying anything which can bring consensus and peace to this country is more important than anything else for Kenyans, because right now, I tell you, it is so difficult to handle the situation we are having, because we've been going through having our children learning from in our dining rooms with computers, something which they have never had before. The schools are closed. So it's a very, very difficult situation for Kenyans. And I pity those who actually cannot even make the ends meet and who don't know what to do next. So the Christmas is here with us. It will be the first time people will be spending Christmas on a curfew, because at a particular time you will have to be at home. You will not be celebrating your Christmas the way we used to celebrate. So it's a quite unfamiliar territory for Kenyans, to unfamiliar times, which we have never had before. And we need to think through how we're going to make sure Kenyans sail through these turbulent waves of their lives from today going forward. Because if we do not do that, a lot of things may go away, and the hell may break loose. Kenyans will say, oh, I'll have to travel to Kambani, I'll have to do this, I have to go and celebrate my Christmas. I would urge Kenyans to observe what the government is saying, because at the end of the day, they are the controllers of our daily lives, how we live, our security, our health, our everything. It is in the hands of the government, and I believe the people who are leading the government, including I myself, will be in a position to guide Kenyans in a better way. Coming back to your question, which you had asked today, I think I should chip in there, because we are being told that
briefly,
we can vote multiple, we can have multiple questions. That may not be a problem. my concern would be, what does the Constitution say when it comes to the referendum and the choosing, the questions? That is where I would confine myself, because we cannot do an illegality trying to solve a problem. We have, if we are going to do a referendum, we have to do a referendum as per the Constitution tells us to do. We cannot come up with our own thinking and say, this is the way we are going to conduct our referendum, and it is not directed by the Constitution. That would be my take. I would squarely want to follow the law when we go to the referendum, and we use what the Constitution is telling us, not to come up with our thinking.
Okay. Honorable Odera, I'd like your sentiment on the fact that we're having unions telling medical practitioners not to risk their lives, given that the government is not providing enough PPE. But at the same time, there's not going to be another lockdown. People shall be traveling for the festivities. Where do you sit on this one, and how should we be helping ourselves in the wake of certain failures at the level of leadership and obviously those in the health sector?
I mean, if you put yourself in the shoes of the medical workers, I mean, can you imagine a situation where there are PPEs lying in the KEMSA stores and you're not given? Can you imagine a situation where you're not provided with basic equipment to do your job, gloves and stuff like that, whereas there are billions being stolen through KEMSA?
Right.
I think that's where these people are coming from, that you have such rampant corruption, people enriching themselves from money that is supposed to pay these people better, to provide them equipment to be able to do their jobs while they work hard to protect and secure the lives of Kenyans. And I think you have to have a context. The context for this is a context where there is rampant corruption, certainly in the agency that is supposed to provide these medical workers with the tools and equipment to do their job. So the money is being put in people's pockets instead of being put to work for the people of Kenya. So if we are losing lives of medical workers, if we are losing lives of Kenyans because of a strike or a go-slow by medical workers, that has to be put squarely on the shoulders of the people who stole the money from KEMSA. Yeah. Because that's where it went wrong.
Yes, I love that you've brought that context to this particular matter. Honorable Mutambo, corruption is a huge problem in this country, and it seems like it doesn't matter what the area is, what area is concerned, even if we're dealing about the loss of lives. Now, when you look at this particular situation, how does it sit with you, the fact that we are having people losing their lives, but at the same time, priority doesn't seem to be on this particular matter that Honorable Odera has brought to light?
From the government side of view is that this matter has already been addressed, and the government has addressed this matter by putting in place institutions. We have institutions to fight this, this animal called corruption. But more so, it is not about the institution. It is about Kenyans themselves, how we behave and how we handle our matters, and the people who are put in place to do the work for Kenyans. This is where the problem is. And to slay the dragon does not mean that we may not succeed by having so many institutions fighting it. It is self-control and how Kenyans behave, and actions being taken to those who are found guilty of anything, of any wrongdoing or practicing the corruption. Remember, we have anti-corruption. Remember, we have DPP. Remember, we have anti-corruption courts who are dealing with these matters. And also, we have looked in a DCI in this matter. The police are also in this matter. And those institutions, they should be in a position to kill this dragon, but it still remains the veins of Kenyans. And when somebody is put in a place, what they normally do is to go out there and loot. It is quite unfortunate that we are hearing this, or we are getting these stories from an institution which is actually supposed to procure what is going to save Kenyans. And instead of doing what is right, A lot of things are going wrong, and there's also an issue of who is who where, and who is doing what, and who has done what, and who need to be arrested and who should not be arrested. There are all those issues which we also need to look into, because the day we will arrest somebody who is senior in either government and is taken to court and conviction is achieved, that day things will change. But you see, our laws also and our courts, we don't know what is happening. It is quite impossible to tell who will be convicted of corruption tomorrow. Lawyers will be out there fighting for these people. So it is quite difficult for Kenyans to actually get out of this quagmire of corruption. It's a big it's a monster, it's an elephant in our house, and we need to see how to deal with it, because it is not the issue of the laws we have, it is not the issue of institution we have, it is not the issue of social justice. The social justice is there, but still we do not seem to get the end of it, or even to see a light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay.
Yes, we have been treated to reports that some conviction has been done, some people have been taken to court, but taking people to court without evidence, without having conviction is not a result.
Okay.
A result is to have this thing come down to the end.
Honorable Dera, then does it mean that we're just sitting ducks? Are we done for?
No, we are not.
Yes.
It will require that as we go towards Christmas, and I know Kenyans love Christmas. We all love Christmas. We would like to celebrate Christmas. We would like to see our loved ones who we don't live with. We would like to visit them. However, this year requires some sacrifices from us. Sacrifices in regard to visiting. We should hold back and not visit folks back home. We should be encouraged to stay put and celebrate and talk to them on phone and so on. I mean, take the lesson of...
But realistically speaking, knowing this country, is that going to happen?
We must encourage them. We must encourage people. Not everybody will adhere to that, but I think there are people who will look back and say, wait a minute, am I not risking my life? Am I not risking the life of those very people that I want to visit and see and spend time with?
Yes.
The truth is, you will be risking your life and their lives. Now, let's take the lesson of what happened in the US. Millions of people traveled during Thanksgiving holiday. And now look what's going on in the US. I mean, you have thousands upon thousands of deaths. The graph is going up every day. You have, in 5 days, we had millions and millions of new infections. And now it is spiraling out of control. Hospitals are full. There are not enough ventilators to save lives of people in hospital, and there is massive death because of the Thanksgiving holiday and the travel that happened then. Travel exposes you, we know that as a fact, and then the people we visit up country, some of them are old people who are more vulnerable than we are, and of course are at risk if they're exposed to COVID. Unlike, and the medical facilities, you have to be honest, the medical facilities up country are not as good as you can get back in town. So we should encourage Kenyans, those who would like to travel, to not travel if they can avoid it, stay put, celebrate Christmas with the people you live with, and a time will come again very soon, especially when the vaccine is here and people have been vaccinated. A time will come when we can again travel and dance the whole night and go home and sit around the fire with our loved ones and enjoy Christmas freely.
Okay. Honorable Mutambo, your take on that particular aspect of this?
I think, Christian, we should also emulate our Muslim brothers, because we know very well that our Muslim brothers celebrated their Eid, the end of Ramadan, during lockdown, and they did it very well. We never had issues with them. So why should we Christians now say we are going to break the law, or we are going to endanger our loved ones simply because we want to celebrate? I think, faith is all about yourself and your God, and you can as well do it in your home or where you are. Even if there's a lockdown or no lockdown, you can do it where you are. And what is important important is the conscience and your faith with your God. So I would urge Kenyans to adhere to the regulation and to the protocols put by the government. If the government says during Christmas no traversing counties or no going home, people should stay where they are. We should accept it, because this thing is here with us. It's a real life-threatening disease,
yes.
And our lives comes first than anything else. Yes, if you die, where will you celebrate the next Christmas? So the most important thing is to adhere to the protocols and the rules set up by the government. Government is not putting these measures for the government. It is putting these measures for you, for your own health, for your own safety, for your own goodness. So I think we should adhere to what we are being told by the government, and we follow the protocols. If not traveling up country, Kenyans, please stay where you are. Don't go out. You don't need to go to Kambani. You don't need to carry your sofa set and go to Kisumu. Stay at home so that you may be safe, because we need you tomorrow. The issue of people being taken around and around, go do this, go do that, please tell those people who are telling you to do that, there's pandemic, and I am going to follow the government protocols. I am not going to go out. And those who are at home, please do not welcome your fellow people at home. Tell them stay where you are, because you don't know whether you have corona or you don't have. Yeah. This thing is dangerous.
Yeah. You have to remember that some people do not exhibit any symptoms of the virus, but you could well find out through infecting some of your vulnerable loved ones. So take care. But in terms of coronavirus, a huge development that has happened over the weekend is the fact that the UK has actually approved the rollout of the vaccine, and actually Queen Elizabeth shall be receiving the vaccine. But at the same time, us being in Africa and deemed as some of the more we're part of the developing world, we might not be better placed to receive said vaccine, because some of the more well-off countries have been making pre-orders for this vaccines that have been approved by the WHO. So your take on that, Honorable Odera, what do you think is going to happen once the world starts scrambling for, the vaccine, and while we are not doing very well, we're not doing very well in terms of handling the virus at this level. So what will happen in terms of the vaccine and access, because that is key to ensuring that we put an end to this?
There's a big economic factor that will affect the availability of this vaccine to Kenyans and perhaps Africa in general. The purchase of those vaccines, when the Pfizer vaccine was mooted, when it was deemed to be pending approval, ready for use, I remember the European Union bought 300 million doses, which would be for 150 million people. Japan forward bought for all its people, and many other countries in the developed world forward bought the vaccines for their people. I haven't heard of any forward buying by Kenya
or the
of
African
any of those
Union.
vaccines.
Yes,
yes. However, it's encouraging that one of the vaccines, the AstraZeneca one, has the involvement of Kenya. And I actually read that there are some people, volunteers, who are being used in the process of development of the vaccine, I think the third level of testing in Kenya.
But does that guarantee us access?
Yeah, but you see, the Pfizer vaccine has a problem.
Yeah.
Availability to us in Africa will be a problem because the infrastructure. If you require storage at -70 Celsius, that provides a big problem in Africa because that kind of infrastructure is not available in many places.
Yes.
The shipping, the removal, the transportation to the place where vaccination is very difficult for that one. However, the Moderna one and the AstraZeneca one do not require that level of refrigeration, and therefore are likely to be more available to us. However, the reality is, because you moot a vaccine, you start a vaccine, it is ready for use, then you have to create the manufacturing capacity to manufacture enough to go around the world. And as we ramp up the manufacturing capacity of the vaccines that can be available to us, we are way back in the queue, either waiting to buy or waiting to receive. because there are countries, big countries, that have put in a lot of money and have bought a lot of doses to take care of their people. But I read an article that said it is expected that going towards mid next year, most of the world will have received doses of that vaccine. The other question is, of course, for us Kenyans, will people be required to pay? Because the estimated cost of one dose of the Pfizer one is just about 2,000 Kenya shillings, which, and if you require 2 doses, that's 4,000 in total, about 4,000. How many people can afford that? So the question is, will the government buy and provide free vaccine for people? Government provides free vaccine for a lot of the ailments that we've wiped out: polio in Kenya, a lot of other things, tetanus and so on. There are vaccines that are provided free by the government. My question then is, will the government provide this vaccine free of charge? If it does and makes it available to Kenyans, I'm sure many Kenyans would have the confidence. And I like the fact that the former presidents of the US, because of the whole questions created and the lack of credibility that I have to say centers mostly around the Trump leadership in the US, the presidents have offered to take the vaccine. The Queen of England has offered to take the vaccine. The president-elect and the vice president-elect have offered to take, and I think that's a great thing. I would like to hear our president say, as soon as it is ready and approved by the medics, I will take it and lead Kenyans and erase all the doubts so that we can have a vaccine and start working on the economy to bring our economy back to life. Okay,
Honorable Mutambo, Britain is preparing to administer the Pfizer jab. We have President Vladimir Putin of Russia announcing that there shall be a nationwide voluntary vaccination drive. Not much is being said in Kenya or many African nations. What is your take on that?
It may be not said in Kenya simply because we do not have it, but I am persuaded that the Kenyan government is not seated, they are not sleeping. I don't think the government officials are just sleeping, waiting for people to die without doing anything. The money we are talking about, KEMSA, is a contribution from Kenyan government. So Kenyans need to have some faith in their government, that officers are working around the clock to make sure that if this vaccination is available and we have a space to buy it, I'm sure Kenyans will buy it. Kenyans will have the vaccine. I'm persuaded that it will be there because I know how the government operates. I don't think there is any leader or any president who leads a country and sits down at the White House and just wait for Kenyans to die. They will not do that. The President Uhuru Kenyatta will not sit at the State House and wait for Kenyans or wait for donors to bring this jab to us. I am sure and I'm confident that Kenyans will get the vaccine through the government, and I don't think they will be charged for it. We have gotten, like Odera said, vaccine before, which Kenyans don't pay. Actually, sometimes it is Kenyans who say we don't want it. We don't want to take this vaccine, we don't want to take that vaccine. But I would urge them the moment it is brought, because this disease is here with us. If other developed countries are taking this jab, we should as well take it, because they all come from those areas. We don't manufacture some here. We don't manufacture any. Very few jabs we do around here. So we can as well trust that vaccine the way we have trusted polio, the way we have trusted other vaccines. And if it is available, I am 100% persuaded that Kenyan government will acquire this vaccine for the country. What we may not have done is to either put and funds request for it. But I'm sure the plans are there to have the vaccine, and Kenyans should believe in their own government and trust that this vaccine will be available. If there is no money at all, if there is no money and the government wakes up today and say we do not have money to order this, I would ask one Raila Amolo Odinga to be a statesman and to tell Uhuru Kenyatta, my brother, let us not go for reggae, the 14 billion shillings, let us order the vaccine. That's what I would advise him to do, if there is no money at all. But we have not told that there is no money, so life should continue and everybody should become The vaccine will be here, and I'm sure the Kenyan government will bring vaccine. I'm talking and I'm saying this as a Kenyan, and I know how the government operates. There's no way the government is going to keep quiet and let their people die.
Now, Honorable Odera, Honorable Mutambo is very optimistic about how the government will be handling this one, but given what's happening right now with the medics not even having PPE and in terms of prioritization, one would hope that these frontline workers would be prioritized in terms of the vaccine. Do you think that we can actually hope that the government shall put them at the front in terms of prioritizing, even when it comes to the vaccine?
That's a no-brainer, Teresa. That's a no-brainer. It is expected.
Though? With they don't even have PPEs.
I know. It is expected. And that's what is happening the world over. You first of all vaccinate your frontline workers. You go to the next, the most vulnerable people, the old people, and those who have underlying, conditions. You prioritize those ones because they have medical records, and you can easily do that. One hopes that corruption and our way of making everything go astray in Kenya does not rear its ugly head on this one, so that we then vaccinate in a sensible way frontline workers, most vulnerable people, come to the rest of us, and corona is gone. Then we focus on bringing our economy back to life so that people can have food, people can take their children to school, people can have shelter, people can have money to spend on medical care, and people can live as normal a life as practically possible in the circumstances.
Okay. Now, as we go towards the end of this conversation, Honorable Mutambo, I'd like your sentiments on the situation with the health practitioners and, of course, what you would hope happens as far as the government listening to their needs.
I would urge our medics to stick to their core principle of calling at this particular moment. We stand with them, we feel them, we know that they deserve, and I would also urge the government to listen to them. When somebody says something, listen to that person. It doesn't matter whether they are at low level or they are at high level. Let us reason together. I would urge them to show whatever plans they have for strike and engage in discussion and negotiation, because this country is at a very, very, very bad state today. The pandemic is here with us, and I would want them to consider their calling, which is to save life. They go first to their calling. And when this vaccine is available, I'm sure, and I want to tell Kenyans that they should not fear, because even the medics themselves, they also have life to live. And when they hear there's a vaccine, they will also run to get it, because even the medics are getting corona. Corona is not, it's not selecting whether you are a medic, you are a teacher, you are a soldier, you are war, you will get it. So anybody is at risk of getting corona, whether you are in whatever profession. So I believe everybody will be entitled to the vaccine, and we should not say that since now medics are on strike, we will not get the vaccine. We will still get it. Even the medics themselves, they will still get it. And I would urge the medics today, please, go to a negotiating table with our government, with our officials. Downing the tools at this hour is not an option. If you really love Kenya and you love the people you take care of. Manik, I will come. We know very well that, yes, you're asking for your right, you're asking for the peace, you're asking to protect yourself. It is your right, and it can only be given the moment you engage on a discussion. And I also urge the government to accept, to listen to what the medics are saying. But this hour, it is not the right time to do what they want to do.
Okay, Honorable Odera.
It's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate indeed that there is a strike that is starting at a time when we need these medical workers the most, at a time when life is threatened and the disease is spreading. However, there are easy pickings, like giving these workers the PPEs they need, like giving them group life cover, and just ensuring that the environment continuously improves for health workers. However, it is important to note that there is a direct link between the increasing stringency of these trade unions to the level of corruption in the country. The higher the level of corruption in the country, the more stringent the unions will become. Reason is, these unions perceive that the reason they are not getting what they demand is not because it's not available, but it's because corruption is making it go to the wrong places.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. That is Honorable Arthur Odera, who's the ex-legislator for Teso North, as well as John Mutambo, who was joining us via Zoom, former Mwingi Central Member of Parliament. Thank you so much for bringing context to the conversation and the developing stories. Now we're going to take a short break. On the other side, Robin Toskin is set to bring us the very latest in the sports sector. Stay tuned.